Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports.
We hit the diamond for an MLB season preview.
Hit the ice for a little NHL.
And finish off on the hard court with some NBA.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts
right now.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of One-on-One Sports. I'm Thomas Hale.
And I'm Mason Stauff. Much has happened since we were last here, including the majority of March Madness. Before we get into all of that, Thomas and I are going to step up to the plate for the quick hitters. At the beginning of NFL free agency, the Minnesota Vikings signed quarterback Kirk Cousins to a 3-year, $84 million contract. What makes this contract particularly interesting, though, is that all 3 years give guaranteed salary to Cousins, which is not a common practice in the NFL at all. Will Kirk Cousins' contract be something that the Vikings are to come to regret?
Man, let me tell you what, Captain Kirk is getting paid, but don't expect to be seeing this kind of thing go across the NFL. Kirk had a very particular scenario. He went in, he didn't get the franchise tag from the Redskins for a 3rd year, and he's a franchise quarterback.
Well, he certainly should be.
When
3
you're
straight,
getting 3,000, 4,000 yard
guaranteed
seasons.
money. This is the NFL, where no safety is guaranteed whatsoever. And the fact that the Vikings were the team that made
their
this
quarterback troubles.
Yeah, if there's a team that needed some kind of an insurance policy on the quarterback spot, it's the Vikings.
And I mean, this is one of those situations that I mentioned, is that you've got a franchise QB who's never really had injury issues, and you can cash in on him, and it's about time they might have taken that chance.
What I don't understand is, was this really the length that the Vikings needed to go to get Kirk Cousins there? 3 years guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because this guarantee is something that you don't see. That's pretty much
Maybe
unprecedented.
they're so used to having their QBs get injured in the first season that they think, since he hasn't gotten hurt yet, he'll definitely stay healthy these 3 years.
By that logic,
it all makes sense, right?
Yeah, there is no position on the football field, not even the long snapper, that you can guarantee will be healthy.
I mean, we're playing professional football. Everyone's going to get hurt at some point.
And everyone's going after the quarterback.
That's true.
He's the most targeted player on the field.
Hopefully he stays safe in Minnesota. He's making a lot of money, though.
We're not going to see this.
He's not going to have to worry about that paycheck.
I don't know.
With plans to renovate Key Arena in Seattle, the NHL has expressed interest in expanding yet again, adding a new team to the Pacific Northwest. Additionally, rumors have constantly swirled around the NBA that the Memphis Grizzlies could move to Seattle, bringing an NBA team back to the city for the first time since the Sonics left in 2008. So Mason, is Seattle going to be the new hot destination for sports franchises?
Well, it's not new.
Right.
I want to say that first of all. They have plenty of sports franchises.
A lot of history there.
Yes, Seattle Seahawks, obviously fantastic, but you know the Seattle Sounders, one of the most passionate, if not the most passionate WNBA franchise in the Seattle Storm, and the Seattle Reign in NWSL.
The passion besides those small sports is what's bringing bigger sports back to the city. You mentioned the WNBA team. The Seattle Sounders are bringing in 43,000 on average, and that's a ton for a soccer team.
Playing at CenturyLink, having a huge crowd day in, day out.
And they've got 6 championships since 2009 joining the MLS.
What an incredible franchise they have become over the last decade. But will we continue to see more teams go there? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's been
How
too
many
long.
more can go at this point, really?
Well, that's true. Do I think we're going to see another NBA team there eventually? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to be interesting if the Grizzlies go? Yes, because of their history in Vancouver.
Right. True. Up north there. Yeah,
Right. So are Vancouver fans going to flock back to the NBA? Because Vancouver and Seattle had a rivalry being right across the pond.
Is Vancouver going to be considered for an expansion team in the future?
I think Canada is always the idea for an expansion.
Maybe
for
they're
all
creeping
of the
up north a little bit
major
more.
leagues. Yeah.
Trying to test that market again.
Certainly. I think Canada's going to be the place where a lot of teams go, but Seattle's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's happening. I'm excited for them.
Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome. That's how Zlatan Ibrahimovic greeted his new city after signing with MLS's LA Galaxy. Despite his pedigree of success, Ibrahimovic is 36 years old and coming off of a major knee injury that kept him sidelined for months. So, Thomas, the question is this the type of signing that MLS should be making?
So, first of all, such a Zlatan move. I mean, this is just expected out of him, but it's a little bit embarrassing to the league of the MLS, I think so. I say embarrassing because you see that lately in the past 10 years, a lot of players from international seas are going to the MLS as a sort of retirement league. They see this as a league that they can go and have their one last hurrah, play with guys that aren't as skilled as them, and they feel like they can do better and win
I don't
championships.
think that Zlatan Ibrahimovic has any desire to turn this into his retirement.
You don't think so? Well, that's what I'm saying, is he feels like he can come in and just take over this league because he's so much more skilled than the players
that he
here.
could go be at Barcelona and be the best player.
That's true. That's very true.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic,
but he's 36 years old now, and he feels that he can come to an MLS, a league of youth players, really, and just take over by storm.
I don't think this is the type of move that MLS wants to see. Is it
agree.
embarrassing? Absolutely not. It's never embarrassing when Zlatan Ibrahimovic goes to
It's
your
a
league.
nice story, and that's the thing, is that it's good to get the crowd to watch, but the main concern for U.S. soccer is youth development, and you don't need to be giving time to a Swedish 36-year-old when you could be training players from our own
But he's only
court.
getting $3 million over 2 years. It's not like they're using designated players on him.
He could be a good mentor.
He could be a good mentor, but in the end, he's just there for Zlatan.
Hey,
He's Zlatan.
I'm excited to see him play. Let me tell you what.
He's a lion, baby.
He's a lion. A former NBA All-Star Penny Hardaway was hired by his alma mater, the University of Memphis, to coach the Tigers men's basketball team. Hardaway was an all-time great at Memphis, but Mason, will he be able to coach the Tigers back to a perennial NCAA program?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
Not. First of all, not in the American, which is already. I think the American already is chock full of the teams that it's going
Honestly,
to be able to
one
be
of the
good
most
at.
improved conferences in
maybe.
the last 5 years, easily.
They're
Wichita State and
improving.
Cincinnati, you see
But
the success.
they had to bring Wichita State. It's not like
True.
Wichita State's been there. This
But
is their
Houston
first
and
year.
Cincinnati, they're on their way up, making moves, but that's going to make it tough for Penny to make a difference at Memphis.
It's going to be tough for Penny to make a difference, just like it was going to be tough for Tubby Smith to bring them back into relevancy.
Didn't give
but he
him enough
did.
time.
But he did.
I agree.
He got them so much better. It is appalling that Tubby Smith got fired. Appalling.
Penny could bring in some good recruits, but should have given Tubby some more time.
Absolutely. God, I can't even believe it.
Hey, that's all the time we have for the quick hitters. Up next, I'll be joined by our two MLB experts to give us the rundown on this upcoming season. The magic number is down to 2. Yes, that's right. We are officially 2 days away from opening day, so it's only fitting that I'm joined at the desk by our two MLB experts, Matt Hozaffel and Emmanuel Taube, to give us a little rundown on what to expect come Thursday. So guys, everyone wants to talk about the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Astros, but what's a dark horse team that could make a big run this season? Matt?
I like the Seattle Mariners. We're sticking in the AL with the Yankees and the Astros. Look, they have the talent. They just have to stay healthy. They've been so close, but they've been close to 500 because they've had injuries the last couple years. And they have guys like Robinson Cano, Nelson Cruz, Gene Segura, Kyle Seager. They added Ichiro, who, well, he might not produce
Who's 45
stats.
years
He's
old?
he's
Oh
the
my
leadership.
gosh!
It's
See,
about
to
the
me,
leadership.
to me, the thing about this team is, yes, for one, they're injury prone, but also it's a really old team. I'm going to go on the other side of the spectrum and go with the Colorado Rockies, who had 87 wins last year and were third in the NL West. I mean, this team is built around a young, solid pitching core as well as timely hitting. Yes, they struggled at offense at times, but they really scored and had runs when it mattered. They led the National
But
League
what
in
have they
runs.
done that's different than last year? What's going to change this year? What did they do that's so big that's going to make them
Well,
make that big
that's
leap?
the thing about young players is that, you know, over the offseason, that's their time to grow. I mean, you have Ian Desmond, who was injury-stricken last year, but he's going to have a bounce-back year if he can stay on the field. They also got new closer Wade Davis, who had 32 saves in 33 opportunities last year. I mean, setup man Brian Shaw. I mean, to me, this is a really good team. They still have Ronaldo as well as Blackman, who each had 37 home runs last year.
So hey, let's focus in on the Yankees a little bit, all right? Colorado Rockies definitely a good choice as a dark horse, but the Yankees just acquired a big slugger named John Carlos Stanton out
Big
from
deal.
Miami. So is their season going to be a big bust if they don't make it to the World Series, Manny?
To me, not this year. I mean, I feel like we should kind of slow down a little bit.
Slow down.
Slow down.
They went to Game 7 with the World Series champs in the ALCS last year. There's nowhere to go but up. Where else can they go but win the World Series?
Bust? Are you kidding me? It's a bust year. I mean, look at
Yes,
this. They
it is,
have
and
a,
I'll tell
a
you
new
why. I'll tell
manager,
you why.
Aaron Boone. Tell me
Dylan
why.
Betances, their ace out of the bullpen, said, quote, if we don't win it all, it's a bad year.
Bad
You
year
had all
doesn't-
the talent last year. You had Judge, Sanchez, Severino in their young years, and now they're back again. They're more grown up. You add Stanton. You have all the veterans like Gardner and Ellsbury. They're ready.
Stanton, who has no playoff experience. I mean, Aaron Judge has more playoff experience.
So
than
we're going to
Giancarlo
say he's
Stanton.
not going
I
to
mean,
lead
come
them
on.
then? You
No,
see what he did in Miami?
He's going to lead them
playoffs
to the
because Miami was
no,
bad.
I'm just saying that we should slow down. We shouldn't expect this team to win the championship, and if they don't, say it's a bust. I mean, the World Series.
But how do you
I
go
mean, just
anywhere
give it
but
some-
World Series
give it
after
some
last year's
time.
success?
You have so much time with this team. They're so young. They're so talented. Just give them a second. As well as, come on, look at the Astros. They still have a great offensive lineup. Give them time.
So guys, moving on now, just to change the subject. Talking young talent in the MLB right now. Yankees have a good guy named Aaron Judge. We got guys like Mike Trout and Mookie Betts, but Who's somebody that you're ready to see their debut this season?
It's going to be hard to live up to the early success that Judge had, but I like Ronald Acuna, who's the #1 prospect in baseball for the Braves. You know, the Braves have been kind of poor in these last few years. Look, he moved up from single A to double A, triple A last year. He got better each level. That's not supposed to happen. Baseball's supposed to get harder as you go up. His OPS went up. His batting average went up. They wanted to challenge him, put him in the Arizona Fall League. He hit 7 home runs in 23 games. He's the real deal. It's not going to be too long before he goes to the majors.
If you want to talk about real deal, come on now, you got to talk about Shohei Ohtani. I mean, just look at this guy. He's 6'4". He's an athletic freak. He can hit as well as pitch.
He can hit a curveball. Can he hit a curveball though?
He can hit a curve. So he's working on it, okay? But the thing is, though, just give it some time. As well as he's already one of the most exciting players to watch. I mean, did you see the hit that he did in the Tokyo Dome?
My
where he
problem
knocked
with
it through
Ohtani,
the roof?
my problem with Ohtani is his lack of experience against MLB caliber players. If he pitches, he's going to be facing an entire lineup of MLB players. If he hits, he's going to be facing an entire bullpen or starting rotation of MLB caliber pitchers.
Well,
so
hey
he's
guys,
not proven.
they've got a lot to prove this season. We're going to see how they do, but both really exciting prospects. Spring training's over, and it's time to officially play ball. Up next, we move from the diamond to the ice for a little NHL postseason preview.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
No thanks, Dad. I got it.
Okay. I'm gonna go fix the lamp in your room.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
I don't know what's happening. Start a new chat. What did I do? Okay. Wow. That is so weird.
Hey! Hi!
Oh my gosh. Hi! God, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so nervous. Gia, you're so big. Come closer to the camera. Wait, now you're in my face. That was so good.
It's no fairy tale that the right fit means everything, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
That does make a difference.
To find out more, visit safercar.gov/therightseat.
Danse, balance la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Okay. She's gonna love me all over again. Now,
Jamaica, here you come.
here we go.
Good job.
Welcome back to One-on-One Sports. The NHL season is in their final period as teams gear up for the playoffs. I'm now joined by our two NHL experts, Andrew Vandellis and Brad Clare, to set a few things straight. So Brad, we'll start with you and we'll start with the East. Okay. Right now, the Lightning currently look like the favorites to take home the President's Trophy. Is there anyone that can dethrone them on their way to the Stanley Cup?
There's not, and I don't think there's going to be anyone, we'll get onto this later, that can dethrone them in the playoffs. We talked about this, Andrew and I were on here, we talked after the trade deadline. This was the best team in the NHL going into it. They added talent then, they're even better now. This team is unstoppable. This team is the Golden State Warriors of the NHL. Like, I don't
think there's not. I don't think there's going to be zero roadblocks along the way. I really like Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I think they're a silent little kind of dark horse.
They're
in
the
there.
two-time defending champs.
Absolutely.
But they're not. All right, let's look at roster compared to roster. Right, the Lightning are deeper. Other than Sidney Crosby, the Lightning have more of a surplus of top-notch elite talent. Tampa is a better goalie. Tampa has better young players. They're a better all-around
But
team than
I think
is.
Pittsburgh, despite the setbacks they've been having defensively and during the penalty kill, they're still emerging on top. In their past 11 games, they're 7-2-2. So they've proven that they can just go through the challenges and still make it to the top.
They're definitely the second best team in the East, and if there is a big challenge to Tampa, it's them. But they're not going to be able to beat them in the playoffs or this
as we
year.
move to the West, one of the teams that is trying to challenge the Lightning for the President's Trophy is Nashville. Can someone top them coming out of the West?
I don't know, man. Winnipeg's looking pretty nice right now. They're only 5 points back on Nashville, and it's likely going to come down to those two teams in the West. And the rest of the scene, other than the top seeds, is a toss-up, as we'll get to your pick later. But I think they have home ice in the first round.
I want to get to your pick now. I want to get to your pick now.
There's only two. There's not two teams in that tier. There's three. There's three teams in the West that are above. Yes, three teams that are above 100 points. The Vegas Golden Knights. How can we bet against the Vegas Golden Knights, who everyone's bet against all year? They have surpassed expectations extremely. They have incredible chemistry, clinched a playoff berth. I think they're going to Stanley Cup Finals. I think that they can take Nashville or Winnipeg.
You think they're going to beat Nashville or Winnipeg?
Yes, I'm not betting against the Vegas Golden Knights this season. I don't think Nashville has it in them to make it to the finals 2 years in a row.
Blake Wheeler is a great leader for
you're
Winnipeg.
An Winnipeg
and I've done my research.
Okay.
And they have a great rookie star in Patrick Connor. And Connor Hellebuck is one of the best goalies in the league, almost near perfect save percentage as well.
Patrick
so they can get it done both times.
Patrick Laine, one of their best players, he's injured right now.
Who's winning the cup? Brad.
All right, let's say it on 3. Okay, ready? One, two, three. Tampa.
Wow. There's no question here. Like, okay, Nashville, Winnipeg, Vegas. Those are your three teams in the West. None of those teams pose a challenge to Tampa. Maybe they win a game against them in the finals in the East. Pittsburgh maybe could take them to 5 or 6
I can't dodge
games,
it because
it's got to be Tampa.
Because Pittsburgh can give them a great run for their money, but when you look at the things they've done at the trade deadline, the dominance at home, only losing I believe 8 games at home, that's a nightmare for people in the playoffs, and especially the talent that they had going into the season and that they acquired. It's an absolute nightmare.
You're putting your 5 best guys on the ice at once. You got Ryan McDonough, Victor Hedman, Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov. You throw Palat out there. You could throw. You could throw anyone out there.
Exactly, and while the
president couldn't throw me out.
While the President's Trophy isn't a guarantee, I'm looking at you, Washington. It's still they can back it up every bit, and
they will not choke in the first or second round as Washington does every year.
They are the elite.
They are the elite. They're the best team in the NHL. They're winning the cup this
Now,
year.
I have no money to put on it, but I'm still not betting against Pittsburgh until they lose, 2-time defending champs. But that's me. But that's all the time we have on the ice. But when we come back, Emmanuel Taube and Dominic Vernazza join Thomas on the hard court for some NBA postseason preview.
NHL is not the only sport headed into the playoffs. I'm now joined at the desk by Dominic Vernazza to break down the current NBA playoff picture. So let's start with the Warriors, Dom. Dealing with some injuries right now to their big four, Clay, KD, Steph, Draymond, having a little trouble. How's that going to affect them in the playoffs?
Well, look, 3 of those 4 injuries to Durant, Clay, and Draymond, they're pretty minor things. Honestly, I think if they were really fighting for a playoff position, they could come back now if need be. I think they're just resting for caution. The real problem is Steph Curry.
Right.
He is the stir that stalls the drink.
They're saying he's out for the first round right now.
It's looking that way. I think the bigger problem isn't necessarily that the first round, which they should win pretty handily. It's that it's an MCL injury. It's the same thing he had 2 years ago when they lost to Cleveland. It limits mobility, which is a big part of his game. Even if he comes back, it's going to be after missing about a month and a half. You know, so you're worried about some rust. And I think this year the Western Conference, with the Rockets specifically, are better than any team last year.
Out of any of their big four, who's just the biggest detriment to their team if they lose him? Is Steph?
Oh, definitely Steph. I mean, his gravity affects everyone else. It's almost impossible to game plan for him. I mean, you look at their numbers. When he's on the court, they're averaging 120 points per 100 possessions, which is the highest offense ever. Off the court, they're just not as good. They're 13-8 without him, 40-11 with him. So, you know, it's a huge difference. I think he's the least one they can replace.
And you listen to Steve Kerr talking about sitting Steph for that first round. Should the Warriors be that confident that they can get through that first round?
I think it's really, you're going to have to play it by ear. I think if you have your 3 All-Stars, you're likely going to be much better than any team you're facing there, even though there will be some solid teams. But obviously, if you find yourself, you know, it's 2-2 coming Game 5 or you're even down, I think you need to realize, like, we got to bring Steph back.
I want to bring him out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
assuming he's healthy, of course.
Absolutely. So we're moving on. What teams do you think could upset the Rockets and the Warriors in the West? And then what teams have a chance of upsetting the Cavs and the Raptors in the East?
Well, for me, I think the biggest threat to Golden State from one of those early teams in my face is actually going to be the Timberwolves. I know they're kind of failing. You know, they're not playing well right now, but that's because Jimmy Butler's been out. When he's healthy, they have 2 long wings in Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler who can switch. And their biggest problem is the Warriors don't have a good answer for Cat. He overpowers Draymond because he's got quite a few inches on him. but he can also switch out onto Steph Curry in those pick and rolls and hit the threes. Really the only center in the league who can really do all
the
three.
The Timberwolves are really well equipped to defend the Warriors, surprisingly.
And the other thing is, obviously during the regular season, they're struggling a little bit because, their coach just doesn't play their bench much. But in the postseason, it's a little bit less of an issue. I think they've given the Warriors trouble in the past. I think that would be a matchup I don't want to see first round.
Trailblazers are also looking pretty scary these last month in particular.
Oh, yeah.
So let's move things on to the East. Who do you think could upset the Cavs or the Raptors?
I'm going to go with the 76ers here. Trust the process.
Nice.
Joel Embiid is a load down on the block. He's one of the rare centers who posting up actually makes sense. Ben Simmons is playing great. I have a little bit of questions about how he's going to do in the postseason just because they're going to really sag off him. But so far, he's shown the athleticism and smarts to make teams pay for that. And Markelle Fultz, he came back, he was looking good. If he's giving him 20 minutes off the bench with some shooting, extra ball handling, I mean, this is a talented team. They've got wings like Robert Covington. You're going to love those shooters like J.J. Redick. I think, there's a lot of talent in the 76ers team. They're a little green, but
if they get past that first round, then teams should be nervous. Teams should definitely be nervous, especially in the future.
Yeah.
All right, so pick your winner and tell me why.
I'm going to have to go with the Houston Rockets.
Really?
I think the Warriors overall are a better, more talented team if they were fully healthy. But as we've seen in the past, Steph Curry coming back from an MCL injury is going to limit him. And I think the margin between those two is just so few. You look at the Rockets, they have a ton of long wings. You got your P.J. Tuckers, your Luke Richard Baamutes, and then obviously you got your dual-headed point guard combo
You
of
saw
James
just
Harden.
how much money they put into defense this offseason just for this matchup against the Warriors. And if Steph's not ready to play, then
I mean,
looks like
mathematically, the Rockets are a perfect team. You have your amazing point guards in Chris Paul, James Harden. You have your one dominant role man who provides that vertical spacing, and then you surround with three-point shooters. I think if Steph's not 100%, I think the Rockets are the champions.
Maybe a championship for H-Town is on the way. It's going to be fun to watch. But that's all the time we have for the NBA. When we come back, Mason will be in the lounge to discuss the college guys and this year's crazy NCAA tournament.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
36 homers. Swings at the first pitch and fouls it deep back into the stands.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Another round of March Madness means another round of upsets and unpredictable basketball. We've seen so many upsets with this NCAA tournament, but some have argued that the exclusion at some of the NCAA's powerhouses is good for the sport as a whole, while some say not so much. Here to tackle that conversation are our experts Ennis Warlick, Jimmy Longo, and Evan Piercy. Jimmy, you want to start? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing with Cinderella's making it far in the tournament?
Well, it's a great thing because this is the best time of the year for sports, especially with the NCAA basketball tournament. You go into it and you make your bracket and you're like, okay, well, UVA is going to be definitely in the Final Four, and then they get knocked out in the first round. That is great. That's awesome to watch, and it's just fun as a basketball fan.
I agree with you that it's a great time for sports, but I don't agree with you on everything else you just said. Primarily because Cinderella stories, upsets are good for the first weekend. After that, no, absolutely not.
That's just
See,
not true.
no, because I want to see. I want to see the blue blood matchup of Duke versus Kansas. You want to see that, and a lot of people want to see that.
But a lot of people also like seeing Cinderella teams. People love seeing basketball programs being
They can
built
see that
from
in the first
ground
weekend.
up. Butler got their reputation in the NCAA tournament by challenging all these big name teams, and they became a big name program. They weren't a big name program before they were beating all these teams.
And look at like Florida Gulf Coast a couple years back.
And
No
where are
one
they
has
now?
ever heard-
They're back down there.
But their school has gotten so much publicity, and their organization and their program has gotten
Can we
so much
distinguish
better.
between what people want to see and what Turner Sports wants to see broadcasting these
Right.
games?
So broadcasters obviously don't want to see these small schools progress in the tournament, but basketball fans are going to tune in regardless of who's playing in that.
Not necessarily true.
I disagree with
I
that.
really disagree with that.
Okay, as a business standpoint, obviously you want the Blue Bloods like battling it out in the finals, but also look at Chicago, Loyola Chicago. The whole city of Chicago is probably like rooting for them, and a lot of people are going to tune into that because there's such a big story behind
But you have the town of Chicago, and you have people that just hate Michigan. You have Ohio State fans that are rooting against Michigan as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's another fan base, and then that's in addition to people that love basketball.
Even now, you look at the Final Four, you have 2 number 1 seeds, a number 3 seed, and then number 11 Loyola Chicago. So you still have like the powerhouse schools basically in the Final Four, just minus the one side of the bracket that lost 1 through 4.
Right.
And that's devastating to basketball. Not having those teams in it hurts because those are the best guys.
So would you rather have had UVA in the tournament in the Final Four rather than Loyola Chicago?
I would have had them at least in the Sweet 16.
Really? So
Yes.
UVA is a more exciting team to watch than Loyola Chicago.
I say yes just because they are. So basketball fans will watch UVA because they play fundamental basketball. They'll watch it because how great they play defensively, how great they play as a team.
Although Michigan is a 3 seed, I still think it's impressive that they've made it this far.
Michigan hasn't lost in
it's
a month.
impressive
They're
to
a
get
good
this
team.
far anyway.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
But just to go through, I don't care what team you are or what rank you are. It's awesome to see a Cinderella team.
I'm pro
go all the
Cinderella.
way.
In the end, I'm pro Cinderella. But that's just me. I don't know. I'm not. But that's all the time we have for this discussion. When we come back, Thomas and I are having a new discussion about the most dominating players in all of sports.
In celebration of ESPN Magazine's 20th anniversary, they decided to list the most dominant athletes of the past 20 years. So Mason, who's your #1 most dominant athlete that started playing in our lifetime?
I don't even think it's close. Michael Phelps. 23 gold medals at the Olympic Games, 28 overall to go along with 27 World Championship gold medals. How can you say there's anyone else?
Just all the memories that he's created watching the Olympics, and it's really what rallied the U.S. to watch the Olympics through the 2000s
was the
and 2010s.
Olympics.
Exactly. Every ad, got milk, Michael Phelps, all over the place.
It was that every ad? Every ad was got milk?
Dude, Michael Phelps owns milk, first of all. Anyways, you're talking about the former swim champion. I'm talking about the future of swim. It's got to be Katie Ledecky. This girl is taking the sport over by storm. She's already got 5 gold medals, 14-time world champion. She's only 21 years old.
The length with which she wins races is kind of terrifying, actually, to think that the second best swimmer in her discipline is not even on the same plane as her.
Exactly. She's already got so much time to catch her breath that she could probably go down and back one more time.
She's only been on the stage for a couple of years, which is why I can't say that she's anywhere near
I
the
agree.
level of domination that Michael Phelps is.
I will say I would love to see her surpass him. She has so much potential, and I really think that she could take over the sport of swimming.
She is already the sport of swimming.
True.
Yeah.
Excited to see the future of her.
it's going to be terrifying is what it's going to be. The
Yeah.
sport of swimming should be terrifying.
Hopefully it doesn't get too boring and we don't expect her to win all the time, but if she does, good
Hey,
for
Michael
us.
Phelps did it, and that was okay.
That's true.
That's how we get domination. That's how we get this question.
U.S. wants gold, baby. That's all we want.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of One-on-One Sports.
Special thanks to all of our producers, crew, talent, and you, the viewer, for tuning in.
And if you missed anything or just want to see more of us, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, all at One-on-One Sports.
And that's all from us here. And until next time,
Who's